got a pretty decent sized list of things that, they were non-critical items that just need to be done on the airplane. This little hose holds our wires in place. Good morning. So we came out to the airport this morning. We've got a pretty decent sized list of things that, they were non-critical items that just need to be done on the airplane. So we've got a Saturday, we're caught up spraying, and we're gonna work on some of these tasks today. So first thing I need to do is pull this panel off. And we will maybe set up a time lapse. This panel, the old plane I had didn't have panels. I basically had to pull the whole engine cowling off in 2 halves. It worked best if you had basically 3 people in a forklift. So not convenient. This is very nice. I can pull just this panel off and get into the engine on this side, or I can do the same thing on the other side. So I'm gonna pull this panel off and we'll get started. Okay, so first project, small project, is this little hose holds our wires in place for the front lights. There's 2 of them in there, they've come loose, so we're just going to use some adhesive, and this Right Stuff was recommended to me that I picked up at the store, and that we'll just glue them back down so that things aren't moving around. Up in there on the back of the fuel controller, I don't remember exactly where it's at, I gotta find it, but I need a little bit of white lithium grease on some things up there just to make sure that things are moving how they should. And then at some point back here on the firewall, I'm not sure exactly what that stuff is, but it needs to be cleaned out, and I think Kimberly's going to work on that. So we're going to just kind of get things cleaned up here underneath, down here under the engine. Gets kind of dirty, and you just need to clean this stuff up once in a while. This here is just kind of a drip pan. We'll clean that out and just give this thing some love. It's worked quite a few hours in the last 3.5 weeks, so we just need to give her some love and get her cleaned back up. Here's an example. Of course, I still have bugs on it, but this was totally covered in turbine exhaust, and we used our Release All surface cleaner again in our little spray foam container to get that off. And here's what it looks like underneath where I haven't done that yet. So this stuff works pretty darn good, and I think I'm just going to start using that stuff, and then the no rinse on this plane to wash it and clean it instead of old school. We used to use water and a brush, and so you can end up getting a lot of scratches in your surface and water spots and all that stuff. So as you can see, it's got a film on it. It needs cleaned up. This front part, I think I did the front part already. The panel looks pretty shiny. That's done, but I just need to work my way back on this plane and get the whole thing cleaned up. So just gonna spend 5 or 6 hours today just working on it, getting it cleaned up and doing some odds and ends. So Kimberly's been working on this wing. Now that all the turbine exhaust is gone, we got a shine back on it again. So thank you, Kimberly, for cleaning my wing. All right, so we got that. Kimberly got that firewall cleaned up pretty good. Down in there, pretty decent. Get that cleaned out. And got our wire holders glued back in place. So let that cure. What she found while, let's see if we can get this in there. This hose is just laying here. So what that is a battery overflow drain hose, and that's where it goes. So I'm going to put that back in place. That's why it's just always a good idea to open panels once in a while and look around inside and make sure everything's the way it's supposed to be. So another thing that's on the list is to clean the air filter. So on this airplane, this basically has what I would call a ram air system, where you're basically, as you're flying through the air, it's pushing that air in through this inlet, and then it goes up through a filter immediately before it gets to the engine. So that needs cleaned. It's kind of like a K&N filter. Not sure who makes it for Cascade aircraft conversions. That's the conversion that's on this airplane. So this needs to come out, which means I got to take the panel off on the other side. So we'll go over there and do that. See, that's weird because that hose goes right down here through this hole. Oh, I see. That's an air inlet to keep the top of the battery cool. So that's an air inlet for the battery. Interesting. Okay. Are you recording?
Yep.
So as you can see, we have a lot of bugs. Don't get too much of that usually, but definitely needs cleaned. So this has a spray that we put on it, let it soak a little bit, and then wash it out with a garden hose from the back side. and then we will put an oil on. You know, you check your felt to make sure that that's all in place to seal up that, make it tight so that engine is only getting clean air. And that's what it looks like. So the air gets sucked in back there where the screen is into the back of the engine. And it's amazing just how tiny these engines are. That's 850 horsepower in that little engine. Another project we have is to install this panel. This panel goes up here where you see that gray, up in here, connects up in here. So we'll clean this area up. It was originally taken off so that we could see where our leaks were. And now that we have those fixed, now we can start putting panels back on. And that helps keep clean airflow going under the plane, which is going to be really good and more critical for when we start seating here in the next week or so. So trying to keep that airflow clean and straight and not bouncing around as it comes down and grabs that seat and runs it through the spreader. So we'll get that put back on. So in putting this back on, these are, I believe these are called cam lock fasteners, and they are what is like right here. It's just a quarter turn and they're out. So, but you gotta make sure they're the right length. So when I was trying to tighten this one, it wasn't tight. It was slopping around in there. So obviously that one needs a shorter one. This, it's got a number 13 on it, so I believe that's the length. And I've got a kit of this stuff here, but this is a 10. I'm gonna try a 10. And how it works is you got special pliers for them. You go under there, you hold it, you squeeze it tight. I'm gonna get it the right way. It seems like you got to be a certain, that seems to work best for me. I don't know if that's officially the correct way or not, but you can put it up into the hole. You kind of angle it and get it up in there and let loose, and now that does not fall out. So I will tighten that up, and now everything's tight. So we're good. Ready? So the suck back issue that we did a video on previously, it did not fix the problem. So I have run tank cleaner through everything and rinsed it out with fresh water, so this whole system is clean. I need to do some more work on it here. I am not sure what the issue is, but once in a while it'll register that I do have some suck back, and then all of a sudden it won't. So F1, F2. So I'm only 2 out. I originally started 3. I'm gonna take it out and blast some. I'm gonna use penetrating oil, not that I think anything needs lubricated, but just in case something's in there that shouldn't be. Maybe I can get it blasted out of there, out of the way. And this Croyle penetrant, which supposedly was the most amazing stuff ever. I found it, not necessarily to be, so I can get it used up doing this. So it goes all the way in there. I just don't feel like there's anything in the way, so I guess now the trick is And I guess I should have asked somebody, if I turn this in, do I get more suck back or less? I don't know the answer to that, so I'm not sure what to do. I will turn it in all the way first. 1 turn, 2 turns. So that's the original setting. 3 turns out is what I had in the original video. I'm going to go another turn out. So that's going to be 4 turns out. And I could be 100% going the wrong way. I don't know. But I turned it in 1 turn so that I was out 2. And that did not seem to help anything. So, oops. Put your wrench over. So now we are out 4 turns. And we're gonna do some videos with this thing spraying with just water, so maybe tomorrow afternoon get some good footage of that, and then maybe we will, at that point, we'll be able to figure out if we've made any gains on this or not. We'll see. But more to come. We still do not have this issue fixed. Okay, so I did notice one thing. I am in the fully closed position and my roll pin is not clear up to the edge of that slot. So I am now wondering if this handle did not maybe move on the shaft of that valve, and maybe my valve position is not where it should be. Maybe that needs to go a little bit further, but it can't because the valve in the cockpit, or the handle, is now all the way up and in the quote-unquote closed position. So I would assume that maybe with an adjustment here, loosening this, I might be able to make some changes to that. So we got to run over to the office. We got a customer coming to meet with us here shortly. I'll address that after.